For Plato, universals, forms, were the causal explanation of everything, and the most real things of all, the things that defined reality and afforded us the opportunity to acquire absolute knowledge of existence. They were eternal, perfect, and immutable. Plato's view was known as realism, because he believed the universals were real. In ontological mathematics, the universals constitute mathematics and are completely real. Ontological mathematics is mathematical realism. Reality is made from mathematics. Everything is made from mathematical sinusoids. In Plato's system, the universals determine what everything is. They are independent of all particulars and responsible for all particulars. In ontological mathematics, mathematical sinusoidal waves, mathematical universals, are independent of all particulars and responsible for all particulars. Particulars are created by combining universals, thus producing temporal and contingent entities. Aristotle believed that all universals, except God, who, as pure form, had nothing to do with the material world of particulars, were dependent on the material particulars that exemplified them, so universals were real but did not precede particulars. Universals were instead the souls of things and came to an end when those things came to an end. For Aristotle, universals, except God, were inherently inside space and time. For Plato, they were inherently outside space and time. In ontological mathematics, the mathematical universals, sinusoids, are inherently outside space and time. They create space, time and spacetime material particulars when they combine. Wikipedia says, anti-realism is the objection to both positions, i.e., those of Plato and Aristotle. Anti-realism is divided into two subcategories. 1. Nominalism and 2. Conceptualism. Nominalism maintains that universals are verbal constructs and that they do not inhere in objects or pre-exist them. Nominalists assert that only individuals or particulars exist and deny that universals are real, i.e., that they exist as entities or beings. The term nominalism comes from the Latin nomen, name. Conceptualism is a position that is meshed between realism and nominalism. Conceptualists believe that universals can indeed be real, but only existing as concepts within the mind. Taking beauty as example, each of these positions will state the following: beauty is a property that exists in an ideal form independently of any mind or description. Plato, extreme realism. Beauty is a property that exists only when beautiful things exist. Aristotle, moderate realism. Beauty is a property constructed in the mind, so exists only in descriptions of things. Anti-realism. Science belongs to the anti-realism camp since it regards particulars as real and the mathematical laws which describe them and their interactions as unreal, man-made abstractions. The nominalists dismissed universals as mere names. Scientists dismiss them as mere abstractions. They give no thought at all as to how supposedly real particular things can be described by supposedly unreal universal abstractions. They literally have no interest in these foundational issues and proceed as if there were no problems at all, nothing to worry about. Wikipedia says, the school of realism makes the claim that universals are real and that they exist, distinctly, apart from the particulars that instantiate them. In ontological mathematics, the universals are eternal and necessary sinusoidal waves, organized in exact units called monads. These monads are none other than minds. They exist distinctly, apart from particulars, in the domain of being, which has an entropy of 0. In the entropic domain of becoming, by contrast, particulars are actually made from universals, by combining universals. Wikipedia says, two major forms of metaphysical realism are Platonic realism, universalia ante res, meaning universals before things, and Aristotelian realism, universalia in rebus, meaning universals in things. Platonic realism is the view that universals are real entities existing independent of particulars. Aristotelian realism, on the other hand, is the view that universals are real entities, but their existence is dependent on the particulars that exemplify them. Ontological mathematics is Platonic. You can't get any particulars without pre-existing universals. Ontological mathematics is also Aristotelian since universals are in particulars. What about science? Science believes in a universe of material particulars which came from nowhere, from non-existence. According to science, no universals created the universe. Universals, to the extent that they exist in science, belong to the domain of unreal, man-made, mathematical abstraction. Their reality is always denied, exactly as science denies the reality of universalist, ontological, mathematics. Science has a fundamental problem with universals. It could be validly argued that the universals are the number one problem for science. Science has absolutely no interest in eternal and necessary, analytic a priori entities since these are incompatible with science's temporal and contingent ideology, and its refusal to accept the ontology of mathematics. If mathematics is real, then the scientific method and scientific paradigm are unfit for purpose in studying mathematical reality. One need only use reason and logic, leading to the mathematical method and mathematical paradigm, which is rationalism and idealism as opposed to science's empiricism and materialism. Science refuses to accept that its method and paradigm are not able to penetrate ultimate reality, which is to say the reality of universals, of eternal and necessary being. Science, like religion, is a system of faith, not a system of reason and logic. Science has faith in materialism and empiricism, which are incompatible with universals. Universals are not material and not empirical. They are mental and rational. They are mathematical. You cannot perform experiments on them. They are not sensory. No part of science has the scope to approach them. If universals are true, which they are, then science is false. Idealism and rationalism are true, while materialism and empiricism are false. Science assumes the truth of materialism and empiricism. There is nothing in science that could be used to validate whether this assumption is true. Science does not engage with idealism and rationalism at all. It ignores everything which threatens it. Philosophers never shy away from an intellectual fight. Scientists always do. They try to suppress all engagement with philosophy. They shut down all challenges to science. The first rule of Science Club is never question science. Never question the senses. More or less the first thing modern science did was to reject Cartesian rationalism, Descartes' method of extreme doubt towards empiricism, and Descartes' rationalist search for absolute certainty, i.e., for that which cannot be doubted. This rejection of rationalism remains the defining problem of science, and is why it is unable to address universals. Science is nominalist. Wikipedia says, nominalists assert that only individuals or particulars exist and deny that universals are real, i.e., that they exist as entities or beings. Science asserts that only particular material things exist. Universals do not. Nominalism declares universalia post res, meaning universals after things, rather than before them, as in Platonism. Science regards mathematical universals as abstractions that humans construct after the fact, after observing and measuring the particular material things of the universe. Universals, real universals, coming before any particular material things, destroy the whole scientific shtick. They are metaphysical rather than physical. They are mathematical. Mathematics precedes science. Mathematics is the set of universals which allows the scientific universe to exist, without any appeal to irrational randomism. Science believes that material particulars somehow come into existence out of nothing at all and that humans then invent mathematics to make sense of it all. How convenient. So science owes nothing to mathematics. Rather, so says science, mathematics is just some peculiar tool which the mind invented to universalize scientific particulars as an abstraction. Einstein said, as far as the laws of mathematics refer to reality, they are not certain, and as far as they are certain, they do not refer to reality. This is the standard scientific position. Mathematical universalism, regarding eternal and necessary things, is dismissed as certain and unreal. Messy mathematics concerning scientific reality is regarded as uncertain and real. Wikipedia says, transcendental idealist philosopher Immanuel Kant posited that universals are not real, but are ideas in the mind of rational beings. Transcendental idealists do not reject universals as arbitrary names, rather, they treat universals as fundamental categories of pure reason, or as secondary concepts derived from those fundamental categories. Universals, in transcendental idealism, are intrinsically tied to the rationality of the subject making the judgment. Kant's position has been interpreted as a conceptualist one. Kant located universals in the minds that observe the world, but not in the world itself. That's absurd. Universals exist as the minds which observe the world. Not only that, they create the world. It's their own construct, hence it is everywhere penetrated by universals. If you do not accept the presence of universals in the world, then you have to accept an infinitely unknowable universe, an impenetrable noumenon, as Kant did, or you have to accept that the world randomly jumps out of non-existence, as science claims. Only if universals exist is it possible to provide a rational and logical explanation of reality. Wikipedia says, nominalism denies the existence of universals. The motivation for this flows from several concerns, the first one being where they might exist. Plato famously held, on one interpretation, that there is a realm of abstract forms or universals apart from the physical world. Particular physical objects merely exemplify or instantiate the universal. But this raises the question, where is this universal realm? One possibility is that it is outside space and time. The domain of universals is a singularity. It's eternal and necessary. It's immaterial and outside space and time. It's an unextended Cartesian mind. It's dimensionless. It's nothing, and yet it's everything. That's the magic of universals. How else would you make a universe without universals, its building blocks? You can't make it randomly, out of nothing at all, as science absurdly says. Science refuses to accept the existence of dimensionless existence, of anything immaterial, of anything outside space and time, of anything eternal and necessary, of anything analytic and a priori, of anything mental, of anything mathematical. Science refuses to accept that mathematics is the cause of science, that the whole scientific bag of tricks actually reduces to mathematical universals. Science is wholly unable to deal with universals. They are the science falsifiers. Universals are the adamantine rock against which science crashes and sinks. Universals are approached through reason and logic, not through the limited, fallible, unreliable, delusional human senses, which only detect particulars. Descartes said centuries ago that you could never rely on the senses. Scientists have never liked Descartes and have never liked rationalism. They never liked Plato either, and Aristotle was definitely not to their taste either, even though he is many ways in the empiricist camp. Wikipedia says, some Neoplatonists, such as the pagan philosopher Plotinus and the Christian philosopher Augustine, imply, anticipating conceptualism, that universals are contained within the mind of God. To complicate things, what is the nature of the instantiation or exemplification relation? The universals are not contained in anyone's mind. Rather, they are the mind. One mind comprises a full set of universals. God comprises the full set of minds. All particulars are created by combining universals. Universals are transcendent. They belong to the domain of being. Being is the eternal and necessary order. It's immaterial, outside space and time. It's pure mind. It's Aristotle's God, thinking only about thinking, only about itself. It's universals thinking about universals. It's the eternal and necessary thinking about the eternal and necessary. Being is dimensionless. It's a singularity. It's transcendent. It's God. It's mathematics in itself. Particulars are immanent. They belong to the domain of becoming. Becoming is the temporal and contingent order. This world is defined by its relationship to space, time and matter. It's a sensory world. It's an immanent world. It's mathematics as science, i.e., mathematics applied to space, time, matter, temperature, gravity, entropy, and so on. All of these things originate in zero. All temperature originates in the temperature of absolute zero. All entropy originates in absolute zero entropy. All gravity originates in absolute zero gravity. All matter originates in absolute zero matter, which is to say in absolute mind. All space originates in absolute zero space, spacelessness, a singularity. All time originates in absolute zero time, timelessness, eternity, a singularity. Temporal eternity is time that never passes, that is maximally dilated. It's infinite time insofar as, in a manner of speaking, you could fit all of time into it. But it's actually not time at all. It's outside time. It's beyond time. It underpins time. It's the container for time. Spatial eternity is space that never goes anywhere, that is maximally contracted. It's infinite space insofar as, in a manner of speaking, you could shrink all of space into it. But it's actually not space at all. It's outside space. It's beyond space. It underpins space. It's the container for space. Light conveys temporal eternity and spatial eternity. Light is massless, maximally time dilated and maximally length contracted. It's immaterial. It's mind. Light is the carrier wave of the universe. It's the universal, the absolute, condition regarding which all material particulars are relative. Light is the singularity. Light is mind, light is life. Light is God. Light endures forever, meaning that life and mind endure forever. Light is absolute. It has an absolute speed. All particulars come from light. We can talk of two types of light, temporal light and spatial light, or, rather, light from which time is generated and light from which space is generated. Space-time is literally created by adding temporal light to spatial light. That's what causes light to break, so to speak, or take on a new character, i.e., that of becoming rather than being, that of space, time and matter rather than mind in a singularity where there is no space and no time, and everything is massless and immaterial. Wikipedia says, conceptualists hold a position intermediate between nominalism and realism, saying that universals exist only within the mind and have no external or substantial reality. The hilarious thing about this is that it contains a fatal assumption, which could only come from materialists and empiricists, namely that mental things have no reality in relation to external or substantial reality. In idealism and rationalism, mind is the basis of everything and the whole material world comes from mind and is made by mind. In which case, universals that exist in the mind therefore exist in the world too, since the world is the product of the mind and exists in the mind, just as a dream exists in the mind of the dreamer. The mind stands in a transcendent relationship to the immanent body. The mind is outside space and time while the body is inside space and time. Our reality has the weird features it possesses exactly because of this relationship. A reality of pure immanence, such as science believes in, could never produce the phenomena of this world. A reality of nothing but particulars, such as science believes in, could never produce the phenomena of this world. Science's rejection of the transcendent and the universal, i.e., its rejection of mind, is catastrophic. That's why it can't reach a final theory of science. It is literally omitting the most essential, foundational aspects of reality. Science is unable to grasp that reality is based on a transcendent domain of universals, the frequency domain of pure light, an immaterial, massless singularity outside space and time, creating a second domain, namely that of the immanent spacetime domain of matter. There is an exact mathematical solution for this situation, ontological Fourier mathematics, and it is precisely what reality uses. This is incontestably a mathematical universe. The two domains of mind and matter interact via forward and inverse Fourier transforms. Unextended mind communicates seamlessly with extended matter. This isn't a Cartesian substance dualism. It's a mathematical dual aspect monism. The frequency and spacetime domains are two aspects of one system. The frequency domain is where being is located, while the spacetime domain is where becoming is located. Minds exist in the frequency domain, not in the spacetime domain, so the death of the body in spacetime does not mean the death of the mind. It was never in the body to start with. The mind never enters spacetime. Light never enters spacetime. Rather, light, mind, interacts with spacetime. Since the frequency domain is absolute, and the spacetime domain is relative, we can validly say that spacetime moves through light, so to speak, as opposed to light moving through spacetime. Fourier mathematics links a non-local domain of frequency to a local domain of spacetime. Megan Lim wrote, in A Briefcase of Mathematical Tools, the Fourier transform should be the screwdriver, because it's elegant, classic, and well-known. It's probably most often seen in signal processing as the change of basis between the time and frequency domains. Intuitively, the Fourier transform is just fancy terminology for the change of representation of the same thing. In terms of linear algebra, it's a change of basis. Quantum mechanics, a subject that seems to use every complicated math concept known to man, not surprisingly uses the Fourier transform. But in this context, the change of basis is not between time and frequency, but between position and momentum space. Position stands for space and momentum for energy, for frequency. Position is local while momentum is non-local. Conventional science needs both to be local. Science fails because they're not, because one is local and one is non-local, which makes perfect sense with regard to a reality based on a local spacetime universe and a non-local frequency singularity, but makes no sense in relation to a purely physical reality of spacetime, as required by science. It's non-locality, which is to say mind, that science cannot cope with. Science tries to bury non-locality in quantum mechanical wave functions, which it says are unreal abstractions. In fact, they're completely real. That's why science cannot understand quantum mechanics. It literally breaks science's paradigm. Science requires mind to be unreal. General relativity requires mind to be unreal. Quantum mechanics requires mind to be real. That's why scientists can't explain mind and can't unify general relativity and quantum physics.